My beloved, stop for a moment. Just 3 minutes, that's all heaven is giving right now. 3 minutes to remember that you are not forgotten, that love is not lost, that the space between worlds is thinner than your breath. Don't rush past this. Something sacred has been waiting to meet you here, at this very intersection of silence and divine timing. You have felt it before, the pull in your chest, the sudden stillness in the air, the way a light flickers when you think of them. It is not your imagination. It is not just nostalgia. This is the whisper between realms, the tender hum of heaven calling your name. For a long time, the message could not pass through, delayed by the noise of pain, by the weight of unfinished sorrow. But that delay is ending. Tonight, heaven has opened a door, and through it comes the sound of release. Take a breath with me now. In through the heart, out through the ache. Again. One more. Let the heaviness fall where it needs to fall. There is no punishment here, no pressure, only presence. You have been carrying questions too long. Where did they go? Do they still see me? Did I miss my moment? And now, without fanfare, without thunder, the answer rises in the stillness. You were never alone in the waiting. This is the hour between delay and release. You have stood faithfully on the edge of something unseen, wondering when heaven would move. The truth is, heaven was moving all along, quietly, precisely, protecting you while preparing you to receive what could only arrive when your spirit was ready. Listen carefully. You are not hearing this by accident. The timing of this message is exact, the way dawn follows its appointed hour. There is a window open now, a short one, but enough. Enough for peace to pass through, enough for love to find its way home. You do not need to chase it, you only need to open your hands. There is a moment, right before dawn, when even the night holds its breath. That's where you are now. The air trembles with something luminous. The veil has thinned not to frighten you, but to show you that endings are only gateways in disguise. Heaven doesn't rush, but it does respond, and this is its response to every tear you thought fell unseen. Beloved, delay was never denial. It was alignment. The ache you carried was not wasted, it was hollowing space for something holy. You have outgrown the old silences, that's why they've begun to echo louder. You are not being haunted, you are being remembered. The presence that loved you once has never ceased. It has waited, just beyond your threshold of belief, for the moment you would be still enough to listen again. So now, be still. Just for a breath. Place your hand over your heart. Feel it? That rhythm, steady and sure, that is the sound of two worlds touching. Life here, love there, both pulsing with the same divine origin. For 3 minutes, heaven has chosen to shorten the distance. Say this quietly, I am ready to hear what love has been trying to tell me. The words are simple, but they open a corridor of light. You may feel warmth, or you may feel nothing at all, that's fine. The important thing is that you are present. Presence is the key that unlocks what delay once concealed. Now imagine that door, it shimmers with gold, suspended between the visible and the unseen. It has waited centuries for moments like this, moments when human hearts are soft enough, humble enough, hopeful enough to listen. It will not stay open long, not because heaven is cruel, but because heaven is precise. Timing is holy. You do not need to fear missing your chance. If you are hearing this now, you are on time. Every divine appointment unfolds exactly as it should. You are here because love insisted you would be. There is a story trying to reach you. It carries a voice you have longed for, not to drag you backward into sorrow, but to bring you forward into peace. It comes with light, not shadow. It speaks of release, not delay. It reminds you that connection never truly dies, it simply changes form. Let that truth settle deep. What was once distance is now doorway. What was once silence is now invitation. The next few minutes are not about signs or spectacle. They are about alignment, the meeting point between your readiness and heaven's timing. So breathe once more. Allow the tension to melt into reverence. The atmosphere around you is charged with something sacred. You can almost feel the shift, the soft wind of wings, the hush of divine nearness. Stay here with me. Don't turn away. The message that has been waiting for you is already on its way through. In the next heartbeat, in the next whisper, you will understand why heaven waited until now. The door is open, beloved. Step closer. You know that silence, don't you? The kind that hums louder than noise, the kind that fills the room after the tears have stopped, when the prayers have been said, and all that remains is the ache of waiting. There were nights you looked at the ceiling and whispered, "Are you still there?" Nights when memory and hope blurred into the same fragile thread. You have felt it, the stillness that presses against your chest until you wonder if heaven has forgotten your name. But beloved, silence is not the same as absence. Heaven's quiet does not mean you were abandoned, it means you were being prepared. Every unanswered question, every hollow pause, every moment you thought your voice dissolved into the dark, it was all being gathered. Like seeds buried deep, they were waiting for the right season to break open. What felt like delay was, in truth, divine timing disguised as stillness. It's hard to trust that when you're in the middle of it. When the world keeps spinning but your prayers seem stuck in midair, confusion feels like a fog you can't walk through. You replay the moments you could have done differently, said more, loved better, held tighter. You wonder if maybe you missed the signal, if maybe you weren't listening hard enough. But clarity doesn't bloom in noise, it is born in quiet. And in that sacred silence, heaven was weaving the pieces together in ways you could not yet see. You have not failed, dear heart. You have been faithful even when you felt forgotten. There were angels surrounding you in those sleepless hours, recording every tear, guarding the edges of your hope. The silence you cursed was actually the soil where your healing began to take root. Take this in, your tears were seen. Every sigh, every whispered why, every memory that still stings, they were witnessed, and none of it was wasted. The unseen world holds your sorrow as holy. You were never invisible to the one who counts even the hairs on your head. The silence was a sanctuary, not a sentence. It was where heaven worked on your behalf, gently untangling what pain had knotted. There's a kind of confusion that comes before revelation, the storm before the clearing. It's easy to think the silence meant something went wrong. But sometimes, heaven falls quiet because you've already said enough. Because your soul needs rest more than answers. Because what is forming in you cannot be rushed by noise. If you listen closely now, you may realize the silence has been speaking all along. It spoke through the small mercies, the friend who texted at the perfect moment, the song that found you, the dream that stayed with you. It spoke through the calm that came from nowhere, the warmth you felt when you thought of them, the timing that was too precise to be random. That was heaven saying, "I'm still here. I never left." The confusion told you that the story had ended. But clarity whispers that the story is still being written, and this pause, this holy pause, was where new language was born. Love needed room to translate itself across dimensions. The one you miss has not disappeared, their voice has shifted registers, learning to speak through peace instead of pain. Right now, as you sit in this space, the silence is softening. You can feel it, can't you? That gentle pull behind your ribs, that steady rhythm of remembering. It's heaven's way of saying that what once felt distant is drawing near again. You are not losing your mind, you are tuning it. You are remembering how to listen with your heart. Pause here. Take your journal, or a note on your phone, and write one sentence that begins with, "If they could speak to me now." Don't overthink it. Let the words come like breath. Maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe it's laughter. Maybe it's a simple, "I'm still with you." Whatever it is, let it flow. That sentence is your bridge from confusion to clarity, from silence to sound. Heaven's quiet was not a punishment, it was a promise being prepared. Just because you didn't hear an answer doesn't mean there wasn't one forming. The divine works best in stillness, in the in-between, where your soul becomes sensitive enough to notice the small, shimmering signs of grace. You have felt the silence, yes, but now you are beginning to understand it. What once felt like emptiness was actually presence in disguise. The quiet that haunted you is now the same quiet that heals you. And as you breathe into that truth, as you let your heart ease into trust again, something begins to shift. The fog lifts, and the light returns, not loud, not sudden, but sure. Because heaven's language is not thunder, it's resonance. And right now, heaven is resonating through you. Stay here for a moment longer. Don't rush to the next thing. The silence that once felt unbearable is becoming sacred space. Within it, you are hearing the beginning of something new, the first notes of a message that has been waiting, patient and pure, to reach you. There are moments, beloved, when it feels as though heaven has forgotten to answer. You reach upward, words trembling like light through your fingers, and nothing comes back. The silence stretches so long that fear begins to whisper, "Maybe it's over. Maybe it was never meant for me." But that isn't truth, it's interference. The message was never lost. It was being guarded, purified, prepared to reach you at the right moment, through the right channel. There is an unseen world around you, woven into every breath, every quiet hour between heartbeats. Within that world, movements unfold that human eyes rarely perceive. When you prayed, when you cried, when you called out for a sign, heaven heard you instantly. The delay wasn't a denial, it was divine logistics, angels aligning pathways, cleansing distortions, ensuring that what would reach you carried only light. Archangel Michael himself has stood at that threshold, sword drawn, cutting through the shadows that sought to distort your peace. Fear always tries to rush divine timing. It pushes, it demands, it panics when nothing moves fast enough. But faith waits in still strength. Faith understands that delay does not mean danger, it means the message is being refined. When heaven speaks, it does so with precision, not pressure. And that precision often requires silence, patience, protection. Think of it this way: sometimes the message must travel through dense terrain, the thickets of grief, the fog of self-doubt, the storms of memory. Each of those layers can muffle the sound of love until it's faint, distorted. But Archangel Michael's presence cuts through that terrain. His task is not to make you wait longer, but to make sure that what finally reaches you is pure, free of confusion, free of deception, free of fear. You have been asking for clarity, haven't you? You wanted to know why you felt blocked, why the signs seemed inconsistent, why one day you sensed something holy and the next day only emptiness. The reason isn't your fault, and it's not heaven's neglect. It's that your spirit was recalibrating, shifting frequencies from fear to faith. You can't tune into divine love while holding your breath in anxiety. The frequencies don't match. Heaven had to wait until your heart could resonate again. Beloved, the unseen conflict wasn't against you, it was for you. Forces of light have been contending for your clarity, shielding you from messages that would have confused or burdened you. Sometimes what you thought was rejection was actually divine redirection. Sometimes what felt like silence was the sound of heaven rearranging what stood in the way. There are spiritual laws that govern this connection. Truth cannot travel through fear, it has to pass through peace. Love cannot be received in panic, it has to enter through trust. That's why heaven waited. It wasn't withholding, it was protecting. What was being prepared for you had to come clean, untainted, radiant with truth. And while the unseen world worked, your heart was being refined, too. Every delay shaped you. Every unanswered prayer deepened your sensitivity. Every tear washed away the residue of disbelief. You were being prepared to hear without distortion, to recognize love when it speaks again, not the echo of old fear, but the voice of divine certainty. Now, I want you to pause and let this truth settle. There was never a missed moment. Nothing divine comes too late. Timing in heaven is not measured by clocks, it's measured by readiness. When your soul and the message align, the gates open without resistance. Take a slow breath in. Exhale gently. Speak this out loud, as a declaration of your return to faith. I was never too late for love. Feel the words vibrate through you. They are more than a sentence, they are a reset. They close the door to fear and open the space for trust. Heaven responds to faith like sound to resonance. It meets you where belief outweighs worry. You may not see it, but the realm of light is already moving again. Archangel Michael, the protector of divine order, stands on your behalf. He is guarding the message meant for you, ensuring that no distortion reaches your heart. You are not fighting to hear, you are being ushered into hearing clearly. Fear may have delayed the message, but faith now releases it. You are stepping out of the noise of panic into the music of peace. The unseen conflict is ending because your vibration has shifted. You are ready. As we move forward, stay open. What was once muffled will soon become unmistakable. The next signs you receive will not be uncertain, they will carry the fragrance of heaven itself. Have you noticed, beloved, how certain moments seem to shimmer, how a word, a number, or a song lingers longer than logic can explain? That's how heaven speaks, not always in thunder, not always through visions that stop the world, but through echoes. Gentle, persistent echoes. They move through your ordinary days like threads of gold, subtle enough to miss if you're rushing, strong enough to hold you when you pause. You might see a name appear twice in one morning, their name, or a word tied to a memory. You might glance at the clock and see 3:33, 7:17, or 11:11, and feel a pulse of warmth rise in your chest before you even understand why. Or maybe it's a song that plays unexpectedly, one that belonged to a time before loss. The notes hit, and suddenly the air shifts. It's not coincidence, it's correspondence. The divine uses echoes because love knows the language of repetition. Heaven doesn't shout, it repeats. It repeats because repetition builds recognition. You've asked for signs, and sometimes you feared you were imagining them. But what if imagination is simply the gateway through which heaven paints? What if the thing you dismissed as wishful thinking was actually faith whispering, "Look again, beloved"? This moment carries meaning. This is the difference between chasing and carrying. Chasing tries to control divine communication, it grasps, analyzes, demands proof. Carrying, however, trusts. It allows the message to arrive on its own wings, to reveal itself in its own rhythm. You are not meant to chase signs as though heaven were a riddle to solve. You are meant to carry peace so deeply that confirmation recognizes you. The echoes begin when your spirit is still enough to notice. Heaven's voice doesn't compete with noise, it dances around it. It shows up in patterns, in the timing of small mercies, in the synchronicities that defy logic. A stranger says the phrase you dreamed last night. A feather lands where there should be none. The breeze moves through the curtains right when you speak their name. These are not grand theatrics. They are the gentle signatures of presence, reminders that heaven's communication is alive, not archived. But notice this, the moment you start to chase, the signal fades. That's because obsession creates static. The divine will not compete with anxiety. If you ever feel frantic to interpret a sign, that's your cue to rest, not to reach harder. Signs aren't rewards for striving, they're reflections of alignment. When your heart is at peace, signs flow naturally because you're tuned to receive them. Think of it like music on a quiet morning. You don't force yourself to hear it, you let it come. You lean into the melody. That's how heaven's echoes work. The more you rest, the clearer the pattern becomes. Now, some confirmations come not once, but 3 times, a holy pattern of establishment. Heaven often confirms through triples because it seals truth in spirit, soul, and body. Maybe you'll hear a name 3 times, or see the same number over 3 consecutive days. When that happens, pause and breathe. That's the divine saying, this is not random. This is remembered. And sometimes, the message will find you through dreams. Dreams are the language of the soul, where resistance softens and symbols speak. If you wake remembering even one detail, a color, a phrase, a place, write it down. Heaven hides clarity in fragments, so you'll seek peace, not control. Over time, the pieces assemble themselves, forming a picture that only makes sense when your heart is calm enough to see it. Beloved, I know how tempting it is to chase. When you've waited so long to feel something sacred again, every flicker feels urgent. But remember, heaven doesn't play hide-and-seek to tease you. It reveals itself to remind you that love still moves toward you. Your task is not to run after the signs but to walk with awareness. The sacred doesn't demand haste, it rewards stillness. Here's something simple yet holy to do. Begin what I call a confirmation log. For the next 3 days, carry a small notebook or open a note on your phone. Every time something stirs that deep sense of, this means something, write it down. Don't overanalyze. It could be a number, a phrase, a smell, a song, a stranger's kindness. Trust your intuition enough to record without judgment. After 3 days, read through what you've collected. You'll start to see a rhythm, a pattern of heaven's handwriting through your days. And if you notice nothing at all during those days, don't grieve that either. Silence can also be confirmation that you're already aligned, already seen, already within the frequency of love. Sometimes, no new sign appears because the old ones still stand. Fear chases and exhausts. Faith carries and receives. When you carry the awareness of divine nearness, you no longer beg for proof, you begin to recognize peace itself as proof. That's when the signs find you. The echoes will continue, dear one. Some will appear quietly, others will shimmer in the corner of your awareness. When they come, thank them, bless them, but don't clutch them. Let each one pass through you like light through glass, beautiful, fleeting, yet completely enough. Because signs are not the message, they are the melody before the words. And the melody always comes first. It's heaven's way of preparing your heart to understand what's next. So hold this peace gently. Keep your confirmation log nearby. Walk slower. Notice more. Heaven's communication is not hiding, it's harmonizing with your awareness. And as your eyes adjust to the rhythm of these echoes, you'll begin to sense what's approaching, the revelation of the structure behind them, the guardians who make sure each message arrives undefiled. Every realm has its boundaries, beloved. Every passage of light has its guardians. Just as every kingdom has its gatekeepers, heaven has appointed its protectors, beings of radiant authority who ensure that what travels between worlds remains pure. When messages of love cross dimensions, they do not move through chaos. They move through order, divine, deliberate, guarded by light. At the forefront of that divine order stands Archangel Michael. The defender of truth, the keeper of justice, the warrior of peace. His presence is not merely symbolic, it is structural. He governs the gates where energy flows between heaven and earth, standing sentinel to prevent confusion from masquerading as revelation. His sword does not strike in anger, it cuts through distortion. It severs betrayal from truth, illusion from insight, darkness from light. When heaven sends a message, Michael is the one who ensures it reaches you uncorrupted. He filters out false frequencies, guarding you from voices that would twist love into fear. He is not only heaven's protector, he is yours. Each time you have felt a sudden calm in the middle of turmoil, a quiet knowing that defied the storm, that was his presence, steady and luminous, doing what he was created to do. This is what divine justice truly is, not revenge, not punishment, but realignment. The universe does not balance itself through cruelty, but through truth. When something false has attached to you, betrayal, loss, misunderstanding, justice is heaven's way of untangling it. It is correction born from compassion, not wrath. And Archangel Michael is the enforcer of that mercy, restoring what distortion tried to dismantle. There have been seasons, haven't there, when betrayal made you doubt your own discernment? When someone's deception or disappearance made you question whether you could trust anything unseen again? But here is the promise: every betrayal that sought to destroy you is becoming the doorway that protects you. Heaven does not let pain go to waste. Under Michael's watch, even betrayal becomes instruction, a lesson in clarity, a strengthening of spiritual authority. Protection does not always look like peace at first. Sometimes it feels like doors closing, relationships shifting, silence replacing noise. But that's the gate doing its work, closing what no longer serves your growth. When Archangel Michael moves, he moves with precision. Nothing unnecessary survives his presence, because love has no need for clutter. If you could see what has been kept from you, the energies, influences, and intentions that were never meant to enter your field, you would fall to your knees in gratitude. What felt like delay was often divine defense. What looked like rejection was redirection by a guardian who saw what you could not. Now, take a moment. Either light a candle if you have one near, or close your eyes and imagine one flickering before you. Watch its glow steady itself as if it recognizes your breath. Say softly, "I welcome only truth, love, and light into this moment." This declaration isn't about ritual, it's about resonance. Every time you speak words of truth, you create alignment. Every time you choose love over fear, you open the gate wider for heaven's messages to pass through cleanly. Notice how your body feels now. The air seems lighter, doesn't it? That's because naming light invites light. Heaven's hierarchy responds instantly to the vibration of truth. When you choose peace, the guardians move. When you choose trust, they amplify your hearing. When you choose to believe in goodness despite the noise, they form a shield around you that no deception can penetrate. You have not been unguarded for a single moment. Even when you wandered through confusion, even when fear clouded your faith, Archangel Michael was there, silent, perhaps, but vigilant. Every angel under his command works to maintain the moral and energetic balance that keeps heaven's order intact. And here is the miracle of it all: you are part of that order. You were never a bystander in this divine structure, you were always meant to participate in it. Your discernment, your boundaries, your faith, these are extensions of Michael's sword. When you uphold truth in your own life, you echo heaven's authority on earth. So as you move forward, remember this: protection is not just something heaven does for you, it is something heaven does through you. Each time you choose clarity over confusion, faith over fear, forgiveness over vengeance, you reinforce the gate. You become a guardian, too, one who helps light travel unbroken between realms. Now, as the candle burns, or the image of it glows softly in your mind, feel gratitude rise like incense. You are safe. The gate is open, but it is guarded. The message that was delayed is now approaching, purified by love, protected by light. Keep that awareness with you as we step deeper into the unfolding, into the part where stillness begins to shift into movement, where waiting turns into receiving. There comes a sacred turning point, beloved, when waiting transforms from ache to invitation. You've spent months, perhaps years, standing at the edge of something you couldn't quite touch, watching the horizon for movement, holding your breath between hope and disappointment. But the waiting season has not been wasted. It was shaping you into a vessel wide enough to receive what rushing could never hold. Now, heaven whispers, it's time to exhale. Waiting is heavy when we confuse it with stillness. True stillness is not paralysis, it is positioning. You were never asked to stand idle, you were asked to stay open. The pause wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Waiting refines what we carry, but receiving requires we finally let go. This is the great reversal. You release, and suddenly what you were chasing turns and finds you. Faith begins where striving ends. That is the secret heaven teaches through delay. The message, the breakthrough, the long for peace, it could not enter while your fists were clenched around how and when it should arrive. Divine timing does not respond to control, it responds to surrender. Like water poured into open hands, revelation slips through when resistance softens. Imagine yourself now with palms open. Feel the difference between gripping and receiving. When you grip, tension builds, fear hardens your breath, and the flow stops. But when you open, truly open, you discover that love has been hovering just beyond your fingertips, waiting for your permission to return. You don't have to push the river, you only have to stop damming it. For so long, the delay made you question your worth. You wondered if heaven had overlooked you, if maybe your faith had fallen short. But the truth is, beloved, you were never forgotten, you were being readied. Sometimes heaven withholds not because you are unworthy, but because what's meant for you deserves your full readiness. Love cannot pour into what is not yet steady enough to hold it. This is the season where the reversal begins. The same energy that once felt like waiting is now turning into receiving. The long, motionless nights were teaching your spirit how to listen. The ache that once hollowed your heart is now the space where peace will land. You were not being punished by the pause, you were being expanded by it. Faith and fear cannot coexist in the same breath. Where one grows, the other recedes. The delay tested your patience, but it also tested your alignment. You learned to pray differently, not as one begging, but as one trusting. You stopped asking, "When will it happen?" and started whispering, "Whenever you're ready, I'll be ready too." That shift, quiet as it was, signaled heaven that you were no longer waiting, you were welcoming. Receiving is not passive. It is active trust. It's what happens when your inner posture says, "I no longer chase what is mine, I stand still and let it come." This is the moment the current changes direction. What used to flow away from you begins to return. Opportunities, clarity, reconnection, they are drawn to faith like rivers to gravity. You may already feel it, the subtle quickening, the air around you vibrating with expectancy. Heaven's energy is motion again. Archangel Michael, who once guarded your message in stillness, now moves beside you to deliver it in motion. What was being refined beyond sight is now entering the realm of experience. The waiting room has become the doorway. To anchor this shift from delay to release, I invite you into a simple but profound 7-day practice, a way of physically embodying receptivity. Each morning, for 3 minutes, find a quiet spot where you will not be interrupted. Sit or stand with your palms open, facing upward. Take one slow, deep breath, and say aloud, "I am available for love's return." Do this once each day for 7 days. You don't need candles or music, though you can add them if it brings you peace. The power is not in the ritual itself, but in your willingness to mean it. Each time you repeat those words, the walls built by waiting begin to soften. The flow you've been praying for starts to move again, not in a rush, but in a rhythm. If doubt arises, that's all right. Fear is a reflex of the mind, but faith is a decision of the heart. Every time you choose to say, "I am available for love's return," you remind your heart that it can trust the unseen to deliver what belongs to it. The miracle of receiving is not about what enters your hands, it's about what leaves your grip. Remember this, divine timing never robs, it restores. What you thought was withheld is often returned multiplied, purified, aligned. Nothing meant for you has passed you by, it was simply waiting for you to stop reaching and start receiving. The river has been flowing toward you all along, now you are finally standing still enough to feel it. And as that realization settles in, you may notice the inner shift, the tension eases, the breath deepens, the heart grows quiet. You have entered the posture of peace, and peace is the frequency of answered prayer. Stay here for a moment. Let this calm register in your body. This is what receiving feels like, not fireworks, but flow. The atmosphere around you is aligning with heaven's current, and you are becoming its vessel. The reversal is complete. The waiting has done its work. The message that once seemed delayed is now on its way through, carried by clarity, delivered through love. Keep your palms open, beloved. The light you've been longing for is already within reach. Beloved, you've walked through silence, stood in waiting, and learned the language of release. Now heaven invites you into participation, a sacred act so simple that its power hides in its stillness. 3 minutes. That's all. 3 minutes that could realign the space between your heart and the divine. 3 minutes to open the gate not with striving, but with surrender. This is not performance. It's communion. It's the moment where isolation melts into presence, where what once felt far becomes near again. The holy moves in breath, in word, in silence, and this ritual brings them together. Take a deep breath now. Feel it enter your lungs like light slipping through a window at dawn. Minute 1 begins. This is the minute of forgiveness. Minute 1, breathe and forgive. Forgiveness is the door through which peace returns. Inhale deeply, hold for a moment, then exhale the memory of every voice that told you you were unworthy of love's return. Forgive the misunderstandings, the missed signals, the moments you thought heaven was indifferent. Forgive yourself for doubting. Forgive life for its detours. Each breath you release clears another layer of static that has muffled divine sound. Forgiveness does not excuse what happened, it transforms what remains. Let that truth breathe through you. The silence is not empty, it's clearing space for grace. Now whisper softly, I release what blocks my hearing. I receive what love is saying. Feel the shift as those words settle. Your breath has become your prayer. You are participating in the holy act of unclogging the channel between your spirit and heaven's voice. Minute 2. Declare readiness. Now that the air is clear, we move into declaration, the language of alignment. Heaven responds to readiness, not resistance. Speak this aloud, steady and slow, I am listening now. Say it again, a little deeper this time. Let the vibration of those words move through your chest, through your spine, through every cell that has longed to remember divine nearness. Each time you declare your readiness, you're not summoning heaven, you're tuning to it. The divine has always been broadcasting love, you are simply matching the frequency. As you speak, imagine light expanding from within, filling every part of you that once felt dim. This is not you begging to be heard, this is you joining the conversation already underway. The walls that made you feel separate from heaven begin to dissolve. You start to remember that communication with the divine is not a one-way plea, it's a rhythm, a shared pulse. Say it one more time, slowly, I am listening now. Notice the atmosphere shift. That's the echo of heaven answering, and I am speaking now. Minute 3, receive peace. Now comes the quiet, the most active silence you will ever know. Sit still. Close your eyes. Let the sound of your own breathing become your anchor. This is the minute when striving stops completely and the current of divine presence moves freely. There's nothing to ask, nothing to fix, nothing to prove. Simply let peace arrive. It may come as warmth in your chest, a tear on your cheek, or a sudden calm that defies all reason. However it comes, it's enough. In this silence, you are not doing, you are being. You are dwelling in the very space that angels inhabit when they listen for the heart of God. The stillness may last beyond this minute, let it. When heaven moves, time loses meaning. Stay until peace feels settled. When you open your eyes again, remember, what you just did is not a ritual to manipulate heaven, it's an alignment that allows heaven to reach you clearly. In 3 minutes, you have moved from isolation to presence, from noise to knowing. You've crossed another threshold, beloved. The channel is open, the air is clear, the heart is listening. And now, as this peace settles like gentle rain, heaven begins to mark time again, setting sacred windows for what comes next. There are moments, beloved, when time itself feels anointed, when heaven opens small windows through which grace can flow more tangibly into your life. These moments aren't about deadlines or demands, they are about divine rhythm. Heaven does not operate in scarcity or rush. Its movement is generous, steady, and perfectly timed. What unfolds now is not a countdown to anxiety, it's a calendar of confirmation. A sequence of gentle touch points that remind you, the flow has begun. The atmosphere around you has shifted. After all the waiting, after the stillness and surrender, you are standing in the first days of release. Heaven honors your yes. The energy you released in the 3-minute opening did not disappear into nothingness. It began to move through sacred checkpoints designed to reassure your human heart. The divine knows you live by time, so it translates eternity into rhythm, grace into days. Let's walk through these windows together, one by one, not as rules, but as promises of presence. Within 24 hours, the calm. Within the first day, many feel the subtle arrival of peace. It may be a sudden lightness in your body, an inexplicable warmth across your shoulders, or the lifting of emotional weight. Sometimes you will notice yourself breathing differently, deeper, slower, freer. This isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. Heaven's first sign is always internal, not external. It's the peace that precedes proof. You don't have to search for it, just notice. When the calm comes, whisper thank you, and write in your journal, what has opened since I said yes. Within 3 days, the reminder. By the 3rd day, heaven often sends a symbolic echo, a dream, a name repeated, a song resurfaced. Something will brush against your awareness, reminding you that connection is alive. This is not to stir longing, but to awaken memory. Pay attention to the tenderness of these moments. Maybe you'll wake from a dream that feels more like a visit than a story. Maybe a stranger will say a phrase that carries your loved one's cadence. The 3rd day confirms that communication is active and love remains fluent. When it happens, breathe, smile, and write again, what has opened since I said yes. Within 7 days, the renewal. By the end of a week, heaven often completes a small circle of restoration. Something external shifts, perhaps a renewed friendship, a new opportunity, a wave of relief over an old wound. The number 7 signifies completion, and this checkpoint carries that energy. It's the week when alignment begins to show in visible form. You may notice coincidences that feel choreographed by mercy. Don't overanalyze them, receive them. They are not random, they are reminders that divine timing flows perfectly once resistance lifts. As before, record your observation, what has opened since I said yes. Within 14 days, the revelation. 2 weeks complete the cycle. By this time, what began as energy often becomes evidence. It could be closure on something that once tormented your thoughts, or the arrival of a message, opportunity, or connection that feels divinely arranged. 14 days isn't an expiration, it's an unfolding. Some will experience visible resolution, others a profound internal shift, a knowing that something sacred has settled. Either way, heaven's movement is evident. This is not a finish line, it's a confirmation that release has taken root. Write one last time, what has opened since I said yes. Each of these checkpoints serves not as pressure but as partnership. Heaven isn't testing your awareness, it's cultivating it. The more you notice, the more you align. Signs multiply not because heaven suddenly starts speaking, but because you finally start listening with your heart instead of your fear. The sacred timeline is not a schedule to monitor, it's an invitation to participate in the unfolding of grace. You may see all 4 confirmations, or just one. You may experience them sooner, or later. None of it means you've failed or missed your moment. Overflow doesn't follow rules, it follows readiness. The purpose of these windows is not to prove anything but to remind you that heaven moves through cycles of abundance, not scarcity. The divine does not ration reassurance, it overflows it. So, as these days unfold, keep your journal nearby. Let curiosity replace expectation. Each entry of "What has opened since I said yes" will become a map of gratitude, a record of how faith translated into form. One day, you'll look back and realize that what began as subtle ripples became a tide of restoration. You are not counting days, you are tracking grace. You are not chasing miracles, you are carrying peace. The windows of confirmation are already open, all that remains is your attention. And as you walk through these days of unfolding, another wisdom will begin to rise, the understanding that not every voice deserves your response, not every sign requires your chase, and not every spirit speaks truth. The guardians have cleared the air, now discernment must keep it clear. Beloved, as the windows of heaven open and signs begin to flow, your heart becomes more receptive, and with openness comes responsibility. Sensitivity is a gift, but it must be paired with discernment. Not every whisper deserves your trust. Not every feeling comes from the light. The sacred art of discernment isn't about suspicion, it's about peace. It's learning to test what you sense not by how loud it feels, but by how loving it is. The divine never speaks in panic. Heaven's voice will never rush you, pressure you, or twist your peace into fear. The presence of God, and of His messengers, is gentle but unwavering, firm in truth, never frantic. When a message truly comes from love, it carries the signature of calm authority. You feel settled, not shaken. You feel affirmed, not accused. You feel expanded, not constricted. That's how you know. Fear will try to imitate revelation. It will clothe itself in urgency and whisper, "If you don't act now, you'll lose everything." But faith doesn't deal in threats, it moves in assurance. Faith says, when it's right, it will return. When it's ready, it will flow. Heaven's timing never bullies. It invites. Here is a truth many overlook. Discernment isn't just spiritual, it's physical, too. Your body often knows before your mind does. When something carries divine peace, your breath slows. Your shoulders drop. There's a warmth in your center. But when confusion or deception enters, your stomach tightens, your pulse quickens, and unease ripples through your skin. These are your God-given indicators, your internal guardians. Listen to them. If something leaves you drained instead of nourished, that's not heaven, that's noise. The Spirit of God restores, it never depletes. Messages that demand constant chasing, deciphering, or fear-based obedience do not come from light. Heaven never hides its love behind riddles of anxiety. It speaks with clarity and compassion because it desires relationship, not control. Say this with me now, as a gentle act of protection: I welcome only messages aligned with light, love, and peace. That simple declaration does more than set intention, it sets boundary. It tells heaven you are ready for truth, and it tells distortion you are not available. Boundaries in the Spirit are not walls of pride, they are gates of purity. They keep your sacred space clear so that what enters brings peace, not chaos. This is why self-care is part of spiritual discernment. A tired heart hears static more easily than a rested one. Drink water. Rest your mind. Step outside and let the air reset you. Speak to someone wise if confusion lingers. The spiritual and the physical are not separate, they echo each other. You cannot receive clearly from heaven if your vessel is neglected on earth. When questions arise, and they will, approach them with curiosity, not fear. If a message stirs anxiety, pause and ask, does this align with love? If it doesn't, release it. Truth does not hide behind torment. Truth stands in light and invites your spirit to stand with it. You never have to beg heaven for confirmation. Peace itself is the confirmation. This is the difference between fear and faith. Fear compels you to react, while faith empowers you to respond. Fear shrinks your world, faith expands it. Fear demands control, faith surrenders to timing. As you continue on this journey of restoration, remember, discernment is not distrust of heaven, it is partnership with it. It means you honor the divine enough to receive wisely. You are not fragile, beloved, you are fortified. You are guarded by angels, guided by spirit, and grounded in wisdom. When you walk in that truth, deception cannot cling to you. The light within you is too strong for shadows to linger. Stay tender, but stay anchored. Trust your peace more than your panic. Protect your energy the way heaven protects your destiny. You don't need to chase what's holy, it will always find you, because you now vibrate with clarity. And as discernment steadies you, you will notice something miraculous. The fear that once ruled your waiting has been replaced by calm confidence. You've learned to listen without losing yourself. You've become the calm in your own storm. The season of testing has done its work. You are ready to receive, not only the message meant for you, but the restoration that accompanies it. Beloved, breathe. You've arrived. After the silence, the waiting, the surrender, the discerning, you are standing in the moment heaven prepared before you even knew to ask. The air feels different now, doesn't it? Softer. Brighter. Still, but alive. That's not imagination, that's arrival. What was once delayed has been released. What once echoed faintly has now spoken clearly. The message has found you. For so long, you feared it might have been lost, swallowed by distance, erased by time, silenced by heaven itself. But no love anchored in eternity can vanish. It doesn't expire, it evolves. It doesn't disappear, it deepens. The voice you've been longing to hear, the peace you've been craving to feel, was never withheld, it was simply waiting for this alignment, for your spirit to open, for your heart to say yes. And now, look around you. Everything feels newly ordered, even the stillness. Confusion has dissolved into clarity, not because all questions are answered, but because peace has replaced the need to demand them. The delay that once felt cruel now reveals itself as mercy. If the message had come earlier, you might have doubted it, misread it, or tried to control it. But now you receive it as gift, not proof. Heaven's timing is always perfect, and you, dear one, are right on schedule. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the gentle weight of grace settling over you. The same love that started this conversation now completes it. You are no longer waiting at the threshold. You are standing inside the doorway, surrounded by light that knows your name. The message you thought you were chasing was, in truth, chasing you all along. Take a slow breath and whisper, "I receive with peace." Those 4 words anchor everything. They seal the flow of what has been released into your life. When you speak them aloud, heaven hears you confirm your readiness not just to feel love, but to live from it. If you wish, bless one personal object as a symbol of this ongoing connection. It could be a letter, a photo, a piece of jewelry, something simple that holds meaning. Hold it in your hands and say quietly, "May this carry light, not longing. May this remind me that love never leaves." The object doesn't hold the power, your intention does. This act is simply a reminder that heaven's nearness is continuous, even when unseen. Look at how far you've come. From confusion to clarity. From delay to release. From fear to faith. From isolation to presence. Every step you've taken through these sections has mirrored heaven's own rhythm, the slow unveiling of divine order, the patient architecture of restoration. The light you feel now is not fleeting. It's the mark of alignment, the afterglow of reunion. The same presence that met you here will continue to guide you through ordinary days, through small decisions, through quiet mornings when the air feels heavy again. Each time that happens, remember this truth: you are not returning to emptiness, you are returning to awareness. Heaven's love never leaves, it waits for your attention. If tears come, let them. If laughter rises, let it flow. Both are languages of release. You are safe to feel, to rest, to begin again. The doors between worlds are never closed to a heart that listens in love. Before you go, I invite you to mark this moment publicly, as an act of faith and testimony. Write in the comments, "I receive with peace." Not for me, but for you, for heaven to see, for others to witness, for your own soul to echo what has already been sealed in spirit. These words are a declaration that you've crossed over from waiting to receiving, from seeking to finding. Beloved, the message has found you. And it will continue to find you, in the morning light that greets your eyes, in the quiet assurance that replaces worry, in the gentle rhythm of peace that hums beneath your days. You are restored. You are remembered. You are loved, beyond the limits of time and form. The door between worlds remains open just long enough for you to whisper one final truth: I am not waiting anymore. I am walking in peace. And as you do, the light answers back, softly, steadily, "Welcome home."